Hello, everyone, and happy Tuesday. Thank you for joining me. My name is Tatiana Kolavu. This is Stronger. This is the live version of my LinkedIn newsletter. And this month in November, we talked about the language of resilience, the things that we say to ourselves, the things we tell others when the going gets tough and we're going through difficult situations and experiences. So as we get started today, I'll tell you what we have in what we have as part of our plan. But as you're joining us, I'd like to know where you're coming in from and where and how you're engaging with this. When quite often we talk about language and how we coach ourselves, I always think of activities and sports and things that maybe I have done in my past growing up, or things that I engage with on a regular basis in everyday physical fitness. And I always look to and admire athletes or professional athletes that on an everyday basis engage in building their resilience, in positive self talk and self coaching. And I came across the concept or the topic. I was interested in researching mental agility. So, as we get started today, I wanted to discuss this. I wanted to bring this up and show you some of the content that I recently presented to quite a large tech company as they were looking to find inspiration, everyday inspiration for their employees, for people that they were with. So, the topic of today that we have is going beyond the comfort zone because in order to grow, in order to get stronger and more proficient in anything that we do, we have to challenge our comfort level. And I'll talk about agility, mental agility in action. So, as we get started, let me look and see here if we have some of you coming in, or maybe we can put in my LinkedIn banner that you can look me up on LinkedIn if you haven't yet, if you haven't connected yet. And as we get started, go ahead and ask me any questions or go ahead and jump in on the comments as you're joining us. One other thing that we always do in the Stronger lives, we give away or we send you a tumbler that is the same name as the live. It's great for warm or cold liquids. It keeps you well hydrated. And we today are going to give away a training plan, exactly, a training plan that will take you through 30 days of practicing some of these skills. So we'll send it as a PDF, and I guess the hashtag word for today is agility. So hi, Anna from Athens. I hope your weather is as good as ours is today. I'm coming in from Bloomington, Indiana, beautiful fall day, but I also check some of the temps back in the homeland, and I know it's beautiful as well. Marios from Romania, pleasure to see you. Thanks for joining us. So I'm going to look to you to lean in and add some comments or ask some questions as we get started. Remember, hashtag agility will get you the goodies for today. So let's get started with our first slide. Is if you, as I said again, as we think about agility and we think about mental toughness, I always look to, Natasha, we can put up the first slide. I always look to sports and competition to look and see what are athletes doing and how do we draw from some of the lessons. So this summer, I'm sure we all were glued to our TVs when we were watching the spectacular event of the Paris Olympics. And in the Paris Olympics, we saw incredible demonstrations of strength. We saw demonstrations of endurance in all of the sports, in speed, obviously, with many events. And we also saw not only physical agility, but also mental agility, which is the theme of our talk here today. And it got me thinking, the question is really, could we replace the court for the conference room or replace the field or the swimming pool lane for the intense meeting that we have? And could we use some of this mental agility that athletes on a regular basis train with and enhance their performances? Could you and I do this in our everyday life? So I'm going to pose this question here for a minute. while I say hi to many of you, and I want to know what you think. Because Natalie's coming in from Canada. Hi, Amanda from South Carolina. And Yara says, I'd like to really thank you for your content on resilience. Helped me with the presentation. Those are the types of things, Yara, I love to hear. Helping people. If you've just jumped in like Preeta is doing, do a hashtag agility so we know to send you the training plan, and we'll also raffle for one of our tumblers. I love it. Whether you're from Zimbabwe or Romania, I'm committed to putting these guys in the mail and sending them to you. So Aisha, welcome from Zimbabwe. So the question is, and I'm going to ask you all, you can react with a yes or maybe, can we focus on mental agility and enhance our performance in what I consider our training field, which could be the presentation, the Zoom meeting, the conference room, the overall intense activities that we do. So welcome all of you. So what do you think? Yes or no? This is a leading question because obviously the answer that I have is, Natasha, you can pop this up. The answer is yes. There's a huge crossover by what we see on a regular basis of athletes accomplishing and what we can do in our world of high-level performance. Thank you for joining us. South Africa and Canada, fabulous. Marios, where are you coming in from? So when I think of this, agile people are able to do a lot of these things. And this is why we need mental agility. It connects with a growth mindset and the ability to endure difficult situations. I broke it down to 4, but it's not just these. I'm going to ask you what you think in addition to some of these that I share, agile people do. So people that are mentally agile, for one thing, adapt to new information and to new situations very quickly. So adaptability is this one thing. Physically, you can adapt if you're physically agile, but mentally you should be able to do too. Natasha, that's the first quadrant there. So that when there's change, the mentally agile people can pick up more. Marius, thank you. I wondered. Welcome, Mexico. Hashtag agility to get you there. Another thing in the work world, mental agility is so valuable because people that are mentally agile can think critically and can problem solve. And I'm not talking about doing it fast, but doing it effectively. I was just on the phone with a dear friend who has to make a very big decision about his company. And my reaction and my thought to him is take your time to think through this. So when we think of agility, I don't want you to think speed. It's the ability to weave and be flexible and change, but also to make good decisions. And that's on the second block here that we have that. So it's critical thinking and problem solving. Another thing that mentally agile people do, and the reason that they continue to grow and evolve, is that they have this incredible thirst or hunger, I would say, for learning. So they're curious to new experiences. They're more creative. They're more open to new experiences. In fact, WorldWorks, one of the companies I've done a lot of work with that does education for cross-cultural competencies, has this sort of open to new experiences. And people that are working for multinational companies that get expatriate assignments to work in a different country have to be ones that have that level of curiosity. So finally, agile people are lifelong learners, and all of you are here with us today because you're taking time out of your day, and thank you very much for doing that. That's on our last quadrant, Natasha, is being lifelong learners. So it's that constant ability and need to learn. Is there anything else that you see that you can jump on the chat and add that for me in the comments, that you think agile, a quality, a characteristic of mental agility in the workplace? What does that look like? Yes, Gerard is saying from Dallas, I'm going to pop this up here, is active listening and asking good questions. That goes with curiosity, Gerard. I could not agree more. That's not just a characteristic, that's a behavior that goes together with curiosity and learning. If you are eager to learn, you're going to take time to listen and you will ask some good questions. Thank you. That's fantastic. So now that we talk about all of the things, is there anyone else that wants to say what else goes into mental agility? What have you seen? And Amanda, yes, this is automatically recorded. And fire drill, be mindful, be careful. Automatically recorded, and it shows up on my LinkedIn. So you'll get to go back and see it. So if you're thinking of, and when I was thinking of developing this workshop, I thought mental agility is about all of these things. But if I were to choose three actions and three things in order in the same sequence that I would want people to think about in being mentally agile, it would be these three things. It would be to be curious, and as a result, to be courageous, because you could get yourself in different situations that could be complicated, tricky. And as a result of that, we want you to be resilient, because you're going to try things that are uncomfortable. You're going to try things that are different, that are outside of the ordinary, and therefore you may not succeed at all times, but that's where the learning and the growth happens. So quite often you hear me talk about the power of pushing your comfort zone. We call it discomfort training, call it what you wish, but I want you to think about your everyday sports arena. Lately, I picked up the sport of pickleball. Where, Natasha, we can go on the next slide. I was terrible at it. I'm still am. But by learning something that is new, I voluntarily put myself in a challenging situation. I'm growing. I'm becoming more agile. And I could take this in another setting in the workplace. I can bring up the treadmill to a higher incline, and I can push as I do my morning run or my walk, or I can go on a hike that is more challenging. Or another experience I had this past weekend, I went to a yoga class. It was obvious I went to an advanced yoga class because they were doing handstands towards the end. And I thought, okay, that probably is not something I am proficient in. I tried to set it up a little. The cueing was fantastic, but I'm trying to tell you, we have everyday opportunities where we can voluntarily, and I want you to be within a safe space, but test our comfort zone or test our discomfort. Because if you think about it, if we do this strategically and if we do it with intention, like athletes, we turn that discomfort into our comfort, and then we work and are able to train our mental agility. Like this guy that's on the top of the mountain saying, this was hard, but I did it. That's where I want you to be thinking about as we're training and talking about this. So I'm going to look at the questions just a little bit and see if you have any comments. Remember, #agility will put you in the running for a tumbler, but we'll also get you the training plan since you're going to be training for some of your mental agility here. Grace, welcome from Nigeria. So good to have you. I hear some friends, see from friends from Malik from Pakistan, and Yara is coming in from Egypt. I always have my friends from Athens, Greece. Love to see that. So any questions that relate to this? We're going to shift to now. I did preview to the be curious, be courageous, be resilient, and want to break down each of the three. Now, you better have a notepad out, because I will ask you to commit, or I'll ask you to make a list or think about things that you can do in each of these three areas, or tell me what you are already doing in these three areas. Let's tackle the curiosity piece first. There's so much research to show that that spirit of openness that we all have as little kids does definitely show up later on in our life and helps us become more effective in the work that we do. So when we look at curiosity, again, some of the characteristics that relate to this is to first be curious and have a spirit of adventure. I always think of travel or exploration. Doesn't have to be getting on a plane. You could go look for geodes in a close by creek. And that's the stuff that we did as little kids. But then as we grow older, the to-do list takes over and we lose that spirit. So in curiosity, try to do things on a regular basis that take you there. Another one is to be open to learning and acquiring new skills. I can't think of a better time right now to learn something new. We have artificial intelligence that is in a way inserting itself into our lives. And I see people that are pretty close to it. They're saying, this is too much. I don't want to learn it. I'm not interested. The reality is that this is going to be moving quickly. And we have lots of opportunities, specifically on the LinkedIn Learning platform, to pick up a lot of new skills. And you can listen, you can watch, you can practice some classes. I just signed up for through our university, some continuing education on AI training, as well as some LinkedIn Learning courses. Finally, or the next piece of curiosity is to really look for new information, read something different, or read the thought process of someone who's different than you. That's part of curiosity, seeing where they come from. And finally, together with taking adventures, be open to new experiences. And I'm saying this from the standpoint of trying a new food, or trying some new refreshment drink, or trying and listening to new music. As I ask you this question, what does curiosity mean for you? What do you do that keeps you curious? Malik will talk about resilience as the third one. But as I ask you about curiosity, I'll tell you a little thing that I do with my students, my undergraduate students. But think of, what do you do to feed your curiosity? We talked about travel. We talked about learning a new skill, I'm not going to do language. That's hard as an adult, but why not? A musical instrument, or learning how to learn something new, or finding new information, or being open to new experiences. I want to hear from you. What do you do to stay curious? I teach a course on international business, and my goal is to get about 220 of the students in the seats at a time, to get them curious about things that are different and seem different from the outside, like language. So one of the things that I've done is I've made a playlist on Spotify where they have to, each time in class, identify the language that is heard by the singers. And it's amazing because they walk in and you see them kind of bob their heads, or they're pulling up their phones and shazamming the song. And I'll say, what language is this? So train your ear to listen to something different than what you hear every day. And it's fun, but it's a quick way to get their curiosity triggered. And I'm so proud when they ask for the song, or even prouder when they bring a song and they ask for it to be included in the playlist. So that's my latest geeky curiosity thing that I try to teach. Amanda says, I'm learning Mandarin. Amanda, oh my goodness. First of all, learning a new language as an adult, I would say, is a huge accomplishment. Amanda's saying Mandarin is not easy. Another language that's not easy, Marius, is learning Greek. I just sent a text to my daughter today, connecting her with a dear friend that's going to teach her Greek. So Marius, just like Melina, my daughter, you are going to spike your curiosity. So thank you for sharing that. Anything else? Maybe you're learning how to play an instrument. Maybe you're learning how to code, or maybe you're learning how to cook a food that you haven't cooked before. Whatever it may be, I encourage you to stay curious, my friends, because that's tightly connected to mental agility. That's really important. So let me see what Yara is saying. Yara said, I start AI educational program out of curiosity. Fantastic. Here. Gerard is asking me, can you share your thoughts on overcoming negative self-talk and imposter syndrome? Curiosity gets diminished, especially when one has the expectation that one has to know all of the answers. You've answered your question, Gerard, because what happens in the process of being afraid or uncomfortable, being uncomfortable, we don't try to begin with. So my suggestion would be to you is just do it. Like Nike says, maybe start little small steps, trying things or learning things that are different. And we'll go into the concept of courage right next. It takes courage because as you try these things, that self-talk or the actual failure, you're not going to be good at it, is going to hold you back. And that is the biggest shame. And as adults, we don't try enough because we want to keep it safe. So my recommendation to you would be hush down that talk, switch it to positive self-talk. If you look at maybe Natasha, we can put up this month's resilience, the language of resilience, that talks a little bit about being self-observant and switching the narrative and doing positive self-talk. That helps. I like Anna says, I ask my university daughters what they learn in school and try to find more about anything I find most interesting. Exactly. Education is so open and free these days. It's easy to learn something that we didn't learn in school. That's very helpful too. Uh, Lots of activity here. Malik, whenever I write, my curiosity increases. That's a skill that's so connected to mental agility, specifically here. All right, one more comment and then we'll go to courage. Christopher says, I speak English and Portuguese and Spanish and sign language, but I struggle with learning Korean. How can I learn a whole different language? First of all, Christopher, I would say maybe the hard drive is a little jammed. I'm not sure if you learned those languages at an early age, give yourself some grace and a break. That's remarkable, but maybe start with smaller steps. I'm sure Korean is a very different language than the ones that you speak already. And maybe think of learning it a different way. Do you have to learn how to write and to speak? Can you learn by understanding or phonetically speaking, or can you learn in a different way that could be you know, in a different kind of break the mold a little bit too. One more person. All right, I'll stop after this. Udaya says, learning new technology in my field, I believe that I'm currently updated. Very good. So you can think of curiosity as a way to spark it every day in things that are in your comfort zone. But Udaya, I would also encourage you to learn something that's outside of your comfort zone. If we think of curiosity and mental agility, it starts from there. But then the next step would be to think about having the courage to try all of these new things. Curiosity is one trait, but courage has to be back to some of you mentioned, I'm afraid of failing, or I don't think, or my negative self-talk is going to get started. That's where courage comes in, because I love this quote and this little girl wearing the cape. Courage doesn't exist where confidence does. If you think about it, if you were confident, you don't have to build the courage to do everything. And I'm sure that all the athletes that I mentioned that were in the Olympics this summer have pushed their mental or physical limits at some point, have tried something they were not sure or had the confidence they could do. And that is the ability to take you there. And courage is not just the courage to try, but the courage to not be good at something. And when we think of athletes, like the epic of all times best or amazing basketball player like Michael Jordan, you may have seen this quote that he shares a lot and talks about failing so many times, not just failing, but failing publicly. Oops, that's later. Sorry. I've got this wrong. I'm ahead of time. I apologize, Natasha. She's doing her best. So with courage, and we'll talk about resilience in just a little bit. I'm ahead. With courage, we think of what does it take. So here's another 4 things. To be courageous, it kind of resonates a little bit with being curious. So first, ask for things that are not coming your way. So if you're building for a big career, just asking for a raise or asking for a project that is not in your job description, start with little asks. And I talk a lot about asking, such as asking for things in a restaurant that you shouldn't have. Split the order, get me more ice, get me more napkins, or whatever you may ask, or asking to be upgraded when you travel. Asking for constructive feedback. This is also difficult. Be courageous. I may ask a friend to watch this video after this, of the video recording, and say, give me some feedback on, I was trying to engage the audience and I was trying to do better with this. Can you tell me how I did? So that's the second thing that you can do, asking for constructive feedback in the workplace where you have more of an expertise. Another way you can be courageous, it goes with curiosity, is asking for to do something, trying something you don't usually do. See, the two are connected, but you also have to be courageous. to sign up for a 5K or sign up for a hike that's a little longer than what you do, or sign up for pickleball lessons. And finally, learning a new skill, especially when you are older, and something that stretches you. I forgot to tell my friend Tom Morris, and I'm going to send him this clip, that this is him in this picture. My friend Tom, an amazing athlete, triathlete, many years back, was held back by a pretty devastating bicycle accident, which left him not being able to use his power legs. And here you see him, crazy. He does this with any piece of equipment, but he's snowboarding with the motorized vehicle that he has, that he's probably steering and powering with his arms as well. So this is not a random photograph. That's a new skill, and that's something that he was courageous enough to try when probably he was told he would not be able to move again. That's not him. I have a little bit of a story of this, but I want to ask you, and I want you to be thinking about, what are you going to build the courage to do? When I was 12 years old, I had major back surgery. My entire spine was out of place, and I had to have four pieces of bone that were constructing my lower spine, and a fusion of my lower back. And that's a picture of me in 1979 in Northwick Park Hospital. And I'm in a bed, if you see the round, that either has you laying on your stomach, or they would flip me to lay on my back. That's all I could do for 1 month. At the end of this rehabilitation, I had to keep going back to this hospital to check if the fusion was successful for 4 more years. And I remember at the time when I did this in middle school, I ran track, and the pain from the sciatic nerve pain got so bad that I didn't do anything. And the doctor said to me, you're going to be healthy, you'll be fine, but you're not going to be able to be very active, and you're never going to be able to run a marathon. Well, you don't tell me things like that without that going in my head, and that's all I want to do. So fast forward about, I would say 35 years later, and I don't do the math too well, in 2015, I did run a marathon, and I only ran one marathon, and I ran the original marathon, the course that the marathon is named after, which is the classic Athens Marathon. And I have a picture of you in the finish. I am super excited about this, and it finishes in the original Olympic stadium where the original Athens Olympics started. And that was something to me that was one of the most courageous things that I have done in my life. Notice I'm not talking about jumping off an airplane if I'm scared, but this kind of went at the core of my values of courage and growth, and really becoming or working towards something that energized me. And my question to you, and I'm not going to ask you to post this because I think it's quite personal, is what do you do to build your courage? What's in your mind map of something that you want to be leading towards? Again, I leave that up to you to think about. You can send me a private message of if you want to commit to it, but that's the question. If we want to put it up, Natasha, what do you want to build the courage to do? What do you want to build the courage to do? I'm going beyond asking for upgrades in hotels and airlines, and really sticking with doing something that connects you to your core values. What do you want to build the courage to do? I'm going to give you a couple seconds to think about it while I take a sip. Again, you don't have to post that. It doesn't have to be public. Let me see here. Really inspiring, Yara. Thank you. Something that I've been thinking a lot about. So, note to self, what do you want to build the courage to do? That is what I hope to inspire you to do today, just to declare it. You don't have to do it. So to build mental agility, first have the curiosity to learn new things and build that agility by trying new things, but also have the courage to try things that you may not be good at. And the final ring to the final piece of our, oh, I forgot about this slide. Yes. Since we have a very international audience, I also want to bring something that relates to courage and curiosity. We all are pretty tied to our cultural heritage. And as our environments have influenced who we are, maybe Natasha, we can put that link in the blue box. We may avoid uncertainty, and that will keep us from trying new things and different things. So I'm just informing you to build your awareness. I don't want you to say, I come from a culture that is very uncertain, and that's why I like certainty and I'm not going to try anything new. Uh, Gert Hofstede, a Dutch psychologist that has done tremendous amount, late psychologist, tremendous amount of research on cultural adversity to or openness to change and avoidance of sort of the difference. We call it uncertainty avoidance. You can on that link go in and see where does your cultural heritage take you from, and you can see he has a map of the world where the lighter colored parts of the world are more comfortable with change because they have a lower avoidance, uncertainty avoidance. Those that are higher in uncertainty avoidance are going to rank and, and score higher. So we're going to give this link to you so you can look at it. So as we talked about looking at specifically culture and courage and the curiosity to learn things and grow, the final piece that we talk about is, I'm looking here through my notes, is resilience. And one of my friends said, where does this fit in? This kind of goes at the end because we know that all of these other two things are going to stretch us. And here's the slide that I preemptively cued by Michael Jordan, who very publicly, and he has said this many times, he's missed, and he said and calculated years back, 9,000 shots, lost 300 games, and 26 times, I'm sure it's more than that, he was asked to take the winning shot and he failed. And in the sport of basketball, he failed publicly, correct? He had people counting on him and he failed publicly. And he said, and that's why I succeed. So you think people that are so incredibly talented in sports, we see this all the time, but we have good examples too in the music world. I always think of Ed Sheeran, one of probably I consider the most talented musician with all of these accolades and awards. But then I saw this video of him in a talk show where he says, oh, no, no, I was never this talented when I started. There's a lot of hard work and there was a lot of failing that went through. So watch this refreshing clip and watch how he drinks a sip of his wine and holds the host's hand as the very out of tune clip comes on. Let's play that in big screen, Natasha. I don't think we have sound. Can you all hear? All right, we have a little resilience training here. Okay, Natasha, let's pause. Let's pause and just play the video that you have because they can't hear it. And as you're setting this up, I'm going to tell you kind of what happened. Natasha, let's just play the video separately. Martha is talking about, I feel like it's a trap. I set myself up to do all of these things and build the courage to do. And then my ego or the little devil over my shoulder jumps in and says, you're not going to do this well. You're going to have a lot of failure and it's going to be public. But Martha, I say to you, how are you ever going to get past this? And maybe start with little steps. You don't want to go something so public, but it's training. And I'm going to give you a training plan to do it. All right, Natasha, let's just have the video, maybe outside of the deck. with sound. Let me keep going
People
with
go,
the
people go,
PowerPoint.
you're so talented. You were born with natural talent. I'm like, no. Okay. have a listen to this. Right, this is the.
Has this been played in public before?
No.
Okay, so this
is
is an exclusive Ed Sheeran when he was shit, basically.
Yeah, basically, all I'm saying is when people say artists are born with talent, you're not. You have to really learn and really practice. This is me playing guitar and singing. I'm going to put it into my mic.
Okay, brace yourself, my friend.
It's okay so far.
It starts off. It hasn't started. Hold me.
Here we go.
I'm addicted
Oh.
to
And then.
but I'm crying.
All right. Let's come back and give a cheer to Ed Sheeran, who we think is incredibly amazing. And you know that he didn't start that way. So all my friends that said, I have the social pressures, or I'm hearing my alter ego talking about you can't do this and the negative self-talk, at some point, if you set it as a plan, I'm inviting you to try to work on some of this, because you are the only one that can change it. Nobody, no training plan is going to bring and change this for you. I will give you 30 days of things to do in each 3 of these areas to help you build it, but otherwise it's not possible. You know, resilience is really critical and important in the workplace. We see that for people that are not resilient, here are the kinds of things that people say. She can't handle the pressure. This is someone that may have less resilience, or he folds when the going gets tough. That's also something that we hear quite a lot. Or she withdraws when we need her the most. So resilience in the past 10 years has definitely hit the marker of human resources training competencies. And that's the reason back in 2013 or 2014, I developed a course on building resilience. And you can imagine it was very practical. It was, adversity is going to hit. What if you have 5 things that you can do before it happens so you can be prepared? That's on the next slide. And you can do 5 things after it happens. And I have to say that I'm not a chartered psychologist to do this. I have been involved in some situations that have created environments where I've had to build resilience. I've done a lot of research in it and looked at the research, but I'm happy to say it has over 1.5 million learners that have really engaged with this LinkedIn course. So a little bit of a shameless plug here. When you think about resilience, think about, and if you have little kids, if we click the next slide, and I looked at the numbers from this, little toddlers, when they get started, just like this little cutesy one, take 2,300 steps per hour. They're walking when they're learning how to walk. And the reality is that they fall 17 times per minute. And imagine if they, or not 17 times per minute, per hour, I think. And imagine if you and I did a new skill where we failed that often. Our little toddlers probably would not be walking, and we would all be sitting or crawling around, because that would not be the case. And as the famous 18th century scholar poet said, success, that's on the next clip, success is simply standing one more time and then you fall down, standing up one more time and then you fall down. We talk about resilience being that recovery, and also saying falling and bouncing forward, not just bouncing back, but moving forward, which is a great signal with this. So I leave you with a few thoughts on resilience. On the next slide is it ties what we just talked about, new experiences that are not going to be expertise experience for you, you're not proficient in. While you're having these experiences, for a lot of my friends that were holding back some, positive outlook and having positive self-talk, this is important. We're going to post the newsletter. I would say in all this takes toll on us, prioritizing self-care, taking care of ourselves, taking time for ourselves, even little mini respites with different ways to help ourselves. And finally, probably more important than everything, having a support system and a group of people that are going to be around us to help us accomplish that, or maybe even know what our big courageous goal is, or what are the things that we're trying that are new. And this is the reason I pull mental agility in this format of having the curiosity. The final question is being curious, being courageous, being resilient. Can that improve our everyday mental agility and overall improving our everyday life, enhancing it? So the answer is a big applauding yes. Thank you for living through or struggling through our AV challenges this afternoon. So I leave you right before the 40 minutes from the top of the hour. You've been incredibly engaged. And remember, I asked you to do #agility. I'll leave this one more time in case you're hearing it for the first time. And I'm going to see what Amanda said. Yara said, this course is really great and helpful. Oh, the building resilience. Thank you for doing that. And some of you are agreeing. So let's make sure we get the #agility, because the next thing we're going to do, if we show the next slide, and you can figure out how we send this to everyone, and then let's do the raffle for the tumbler, Natasha. So I've compiled activities, and then I have little resources in for a 30-day plan. And for the planners, this is a PDF, so you can go in and electronically or put it on your phone. You can go ahead and set it so every day there's a little reminder to find something that's different and new, even if it is, taking a different route home on the being curious to explore something different. It is to challenge you to be courageous to do something new, and then when it doesn't work, be resilient enough to kick in that positive self-talk, just like a lot of our athletes that we mentioned earlier do, to build their mental agility. So all of you on today's learning path are going to receive this PDF. Natasha is working behind the scenes to make this happen. And let's do the raffle to see who we're going to send this stronger to. If you've come in as a LinkedIn user only, we'll track you and we'll ask you privately for a mailing address that we can do that. So I think we are ready to roll, and Natasha, we're ready to show that. As Natasha is running the agility, these are all of you that were here today. Thank you so much. As we're doing this, we're planning for a fun end of the year. Oksana, fantastic. Thank you. We're going to reach out to you for your mailing address. And I think you were international, which means I sent those specifically with my private little congrats and card. For the rest of you, we're going to send you the PDF with the 30-day training plan. I'd love to know how it's going. What's the one courageous thing that you did? What's something new that you've learned? How did you step out of your comfort zone in order to become stronger? Just under 45 minutes. That was my goal for today. I wish you a fantastic rest of the day. I'll stick around if you have any questions, or better, if you send them to me in a comment, I'll respond to you if I didn't get a chance to during the feed or on the feed in your LinkedIn platform. So thank you so much for attending. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye-bye.